which led to a conversation. And Sundays came to me and he's like, hey, look, this kid's, sounds interesting. They've been running tournaments. He's like a little bit more of an adult as a kid. He's already out of college. He's a real guy. He has a job. So we had him. Interesting. I was like, well, let's bring him to New York. But we didn't have Adam wasn't in Columbus at the time. He was where he grew up, which is kind of close to the border of West Virginia. And I was like, I don't know if there are any airports. It sounds like it's going to be expensive to fly him here. So just buy him a train ticket.
Yeah.
So he took like an 11-hour train ride from the middle of Ohio to New York City. We had a meeting with him and he said, I'm planning to run a tournament in Pittsburgh. You guys are going to do one in Philly. Why don't we just collaborate? So we did that. We kind of put it all together. He came in and with his guys, one of them being Chris Puckett, helped to organize the whole thing. And we ran a much more successful tournament with hundreds of teams right out of the gate. So that was how what you guys know as MLG, that's how it started to take shape.
That's crazy. Look, I've heard this story 3 times, and this is why I wanted to hear from you. I've always been a fan of history, right? Like everything that happens sort of has this ripple effect that will just echo in eternity because every single ripple would just create another one, and an infinite amount of possibilities, right? One might run into a branch, and then it becomes a droplet, and I could go down the imaginary road. But for me, it's always been super important. And I always say this, one of the main reasons that I do this is because I want to sort of tabulate or sort of archive present moments that in the future are going to be history, right? I want my podcast to be a source of information that people are going to study in the future. Whenever you see people going to college to do sports media and sports media rights and sports anything, you always go there and you study the NFL, how it was built, how Jerry got the deal of a lifetime by creating his own merch and not going along with the league, buying those rights. So they study all this. So I know that the same study is going to happen in esports. So that's why I find it super important. And it's interesting to me, obviously, to hear what my friends were doing before they were my friends. So have you been using a lot of DoorDash while you're there? Obviously, or how do you get your food? How do you get your nutrients? Do you use Instacart?
So, we have a local place here in New York called Fresh Direct and Food Kit. So that's what I usually use because I don't, there's a Whole Foods a couple blocks away too. I go to every once in a while, but it's been tough. Actually, some of those things are just coming back online. Mm-hmm. But actually, for the first 5 weeks, we were afraid of even ordering food.
Yeah.
So I was just doing bulk grocery deliveries and things like that.
All right. So we're going to fast forward a little bit to the year 2010, November or December of 2010, about 5 miles down the road this way, there is an MLG event at the Hilton Anatole here in Dallas, Texas. It is my first. It was me and my old team's first entering the competitive scene. I walk in and I was in absolute awe. I went there with a couple of old teammates and my brother. Right, my brother was always with us in those days because he was one of the early ones. That was the first time I met Hastro. That was the first time I met Fwiz. That's the first time I met Ego. And I was just enamored by everything. Obviously, Call of Duty had such a tiny little sort of booth. Not even a booth. It was just that. You see the back of that. That was the gaming setup for Call of Duty back there. And then you had a main stage. Obviously, you had StarCraft, which at the time was like the esport, right? And to me, as I walked in there, I got it immediately, right? Like what I envisioned. Well, because obviously I didn't start out the way that Hastro did. Hastro started with competition, where I started with gaming, entertainment, sure. And I'm like, boom, here's another thing that we can create content on. Let's go do that. When I walked in there, I immediately saw what I had envisioned something like that being. And at that point, there was really a limited amount of outlets that would, show us what an MLG event was about. There was the usual montage from Oz. That he would create at the events, all of the old Astro stuff that was created, all of the old Steel series, I think, at some point was creating those sort of documentaries. But as soon as I walked in there, I saw my future. I saw what I was going to be doing forever. I knew that at that moment in life, I knew that there was nothing else that I was going to do. I had already decided that I was going to do video games forever, right? But when I saw the competition aspect of it, being the competitive person that I am, I immediately saw what my future was going to be because I love the scene. I love the smell of just gamer. You know what I mean? You know exactly what I'm talking about. And I remember clearly, right? I walk in and then I see. I don't think up until that point I don't think I had any contact with neither you or Sonny or Adam for that matter. But I walk in and I saw Fuis and I'm like, yo, and he's like, we followed each other on Twitters and Twitters with an S. We followed each other on Twitter. And I'm like, yo, what's up? What's my VIP pass? And he's like, oh, dude, because he was bullshitting. Ryan bullshit.
Come on,
not him, right? Because he told me, I'm like, yo, he's like, yeah, I'm commentating the Call of Duty stuff with Hash. I'm like, yo, can you give me a VIP pass? And then he's like, yeah, I got you. I'm walking down the hotel and then I see him and I'm like, yo, where's my VIP pass? He's like, oh, dude, we ran out. I'm like, mother, right? Anyway, he's like, yo, I'm like, yo, give me a tour of this thing, like show me around. And I walk in and he's like, this is where the challengers thing is, and this is that. And this was like towards the end of day one, right? Where everybody had already, the players were almost done playing, and I was just walking around with him. And we're walking, and he's like, yeah, that's Sundance. And then he's like, the guy right there with the white blazer that smells like money, that's Sepso. And I'm like, all right. And I remember seeing you, and I'll leave it at that. I won't say who you were with, right? Or how great that looked. But I saw him. I'm like, man. And surely, like, you walk by, you say hi to him, and I look at you, and I'm like, I want to be that dude one day. You know what I mean? I'm like, I gotta be that guy one day. But I remember clearly the first time I saw you because Fuis obviously hyped you up. And he's like, yeah, this is the guy that smells like money. That's Michael Sepso, right? I was like, oh shit. And then immediately I'm like, who are these people? And I started looking into it. I'm like, okay, because obviously as a student of the game, I had to know who the players were, who the main players were, and how to become a main player. So that was the first encounter that I ever had with you. And